we tend to operate in ways that we're conditioned to operate, you know? And so when we have this seeking energy, because often the energy of awakening arises within us as a kind of seeking. You feel like often it will arise out of some feeling of dissatisfaction. You know, maybe you've had a lot of suffering in your life and you're getting really fed up with it and dissatisfied with it, or maybe you've had a lot of success in your life and things have worked out well and you've made a decent amount of money and you've kind of become the person that your society taught you or you were supposed to become, and still even then there's can arise some dissatisfaction, like I have it all, I have what I thought was going to make me happy, and here I still am not satisfied, you know? So if you grow up in such a way that you've experienced a lot of suffering, you tend to long for a kind of lifestyle. Boy, I wish I could be one of those people that kind of had everything and had a nice family and had a nice upbringing and all of that. And we don't often really see or actually really believe that if we had that more preferable lifestyle, that we would be kind of where you end up anyway, which is a kind of dissatisfaction. Like there's like, wait a minute, where's something in me, something in your heart longs for a deeper sense of meaning and value, and has an intuition that there's something more to life than, you know, just trying to succeed and trying to pair up with the right partner and, you know, if you're drawn to having children, or, you know, whatever you were kind of conditioned to think was going to be the good life, whether you achieve that or not, the same kind of yearning, the same kind of dissatisfaction. You know, it's almost like the calling of the soul, you might say, still arises. It arises in people's lives that are very successful. It arises in people's lives that are quite chaotic and everything in between. So when this instinct of the seeking, the yearning arises, and then we hear a spiritual teaching, and that teaching is received within the context of our yearning, within the context of our seeking. And in our whole life, when we've yearned for anything, even material things, there's been something tangible, something that has some sort of objective existence, you know? Even if it's just a feeling state, wanting to feel loved, you know, but even the feeling of being loved it's something you can know. It's something that arises and exists within your experience. But the deeper spiritual impulse even is more rudimentary than that. It sort of calls us eventually to something even more primary, you know, even than the most positive experiences that most of us have had in life. So the spiritual yearning, seeking energy arises, and when we hear a teaching, that teaching drops within the context of our yearning, within the context of our seeking, within the context of looking for a deeper sense of freedom or well-being or that feeling of meaning. I don't necessarily mean the kind of meaning where my life means this, but just the feeling of meaning, which has a sense of something profound about it. But we have to recognize the ways that each of our minds, even our bodies, is oriented to deal with the spiritual impulse, and how any spiritual teaching gets incorporated into that impulse, into that seeking, and we're looking for something. We may not be looking outwardly for that something at a certain point of maturity. Then we'll start to look inside. But still, we're essentially, it's the same game. We're still looking for something. When you can recognize that, and sometimes you can simply recognize it out of a kind of wisdom. You understand it like, yes, okay, I get it. That's the game. That's the game that has that feeling of, even though there can be success in that game and there can be accomplishment in that game, but there's always this, it does not fully satisfy the heart. It does not fully satisfy the mind. It certainly doesn't fully satisfy sort of what we might call the soul, for lack of a better word, for something that's very, very deep for our true nature. Sometimes when you've been on a spiritual path for a long time and you're not seeking outwardly so much, but you're seeking inwardly, and you're looking for the right experience, or you're trying to still your mind, you're trying to refine the quality of your attentiveness, or what's often called mindfulness. You do that, and often at a certain point that you start to go, well, I'm still don't really feel like I've totally found what I'm looking for. I haven't completely quenched the kind of existential thirst of the soul or of the heart or of true nature. That can happen through experience, the hard knocks of experience, having lots of internal experiences and having them come and thinking that the really pleasant ones are going to be the culmination of everything you ever wanted, and then those experiences, like all experiences, eventually wash away, leave you wanting more of that experience, in the great hope that someday, when you have that experience again, whatever that deep, enriching spiritual experience might be, that if you have it again, you will find some way to make it everlasting. And yet, through the tumultuous nature of experience, if you've gone that route, eventually you start to realize inner experiences are very much like outward experiences or outward perceptions. As they come, they stay for a while, usually not that long, and then they disappear. And they leave me wanting more. Right? So this is one of the things I think that the Buddha was trying to convey, say, for instance, when he talked about the wheel of samsara, that there's a cyclic nature to all this. It's like, wanting, yearning, grasping, maybe accomplishment. You accomplish something, you have a good experience, you have a wonderful experience, only to have the experience or the accomplishment sort of wash away and disappear, which leads you wanting it again, which, so it has this cyclic nature. And sometimes people can identify and spot that cyclic nature of human experience very quickly. Most people, it takes a little longer. They have to go through the washing machine, enough times. Other people really, go through it a lot. But at any point along the way, you can start to recognize, wait a minute, going about this in that whole way, basically playing the same game of wanting, desiring for something, attaining it, whether it's exterior or interior, only to have it pass away or to show that it doesn't really give me the satisfaction I wanted, that leads you once again to desire, want, seek. Once you recognize that, I can see the nature of experience. This is just the nature of experience. There's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with enjoying temporary experiences that come and go, because they all do. There's nothing fundamentally wrong in any way with this impermanent nature of life. It's just the way life is. If it wasn't impermanent, you wouldn't have nature. If you only breathed in the life-giving oxygen but never breathed it out, you couldn't live. So you see these cycles of just inward, outward, receiving and then letting go, or being forced to let go, only to receive, only to let go. This is just part of life. It's what gives it its dynamic quality. It is what makes life possible, right? And the same rules, the same laws apply, whether it's to exterior things or interior experiences. So you see this at a certain point.